And welcome everyone. You're listening to iTalk 106.7 FM, the voice of the mountain. I'm your host, Jineane Ford. Hey, we have some news for you today that just happened pretty much last night, right, Mark Osterman?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Mark Osterman with Stop Lava Run, and there's more projects than just Lava Run. So many projects, like 18 known projects in Navajo and Apache County that will cover us in giant wind turbines and solar fields if they get through. But there was a little glimmer of hope last night in Apache County. Mark, tell us what happened.
One of the things on the agenda last night was what we all went for was they were reviewing the possibility of putting a moratorium on any of the CUP applications until they can work on it. I think they finally understood a little bit that their ordinances are so lenient and so weak that and they're not done with them yet, not even close. So that did go. They went through that a lot towards the end, and the public went up and spoke with it before they voted, and they did the commission board, Planning and Zoning Commission Board. They did approve to send this to the supervisors to do a 120-day moratorium on there to give them more time to work on the ordinances.
Yeah, the ordinances are so weak. And then there's been some evidence that certain people that may be part of Real AZ and part of this big push met with these foreign power companies to see what do you want in the ordinances? What do you want in the rules, right?
Yes. Yeah, and actually the director over there had been working with them, and nobody knew it until we finally got some public information through emails, phone calls, this and that, which definitely put him on the spot. But he believe it or not, when he got put on the spot at one of the last meetings, all he did for 10 minutes was tell everybody that was there how dedicated he was to the county.
Yeah, I don't think he lives in the county either.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, the whole thing. But we have, that's the thing, is that it's such, overall, I think a scam, and it's super sad. So this moratorium means there's 120 days, but the Board of Supervisors has to approve this. When does the Board of Supervisors get the shot to deny or approve this moratorium?
Once they get what the Planning and Zoning Commission has approved over to them, then they have to put a public notice out for a public meeting in order to go ahead and vote on this, which means people will be able to speak at that meeting.
That's good. Now, talking about speaking at meetings and people against the wind and the solar that is going to be, covering our White Mountains. You've got so many people speaking out that are terrified of these things because they're not green. They leave a big, filthy, dirty footprint all across the land, and they might not be used. That's my biggest thing, is that nothing in the contracts that the planning and zoning, these different people are putting together, are holding anyone's feet to the fire. People that are building them have actually said, we'll be here for 2 years, then whatever, So they could stand for time and eternity, because you can't dig up 8,500 giant tumors under the ground that are 4,000 tons of rusting rebar steel and concrete. It's way too expensive across the world. This is 50-year-old technology, folks, and they all fail, and they never get dug out of the ground. And we have the Coconino Aquifer, and it is so terrifying to me that they would even consider putting these. I mean, there's springs all across the White Mountains, and they're not even considering that. No, and we've pushed that so hard on them. It's just amazing that how many people out there, especially with the government people, how much they believe what these corporations tell them. They're salesmen. They will tell you anything to get what they want. Yeah, it's the money. It's big, big, big money. And it's all foreign companies. It's the $98 billion money grab that was left over from the Biden administration that we were sold out by that one senator in Utah. In the last 15 minutes, they slid it into Trump's thing, and it's horrendous. So the thing is, trying to stop this is just a steamroller. So now also there's an NGO group. What is it called? Green Light.
Yes.
The Green Light people that you guys, you're talking about this NGO, these paid protesters that get bussed up here. I believe they're backed by one of the same groups that bust those people up that marched in front of the hospital. People marching against Trump all over the place, and they're paid NGOs. Just really sad.
Yes, and even besides that group, we've caught wind that some of the people that want them over there in Apache County, they seem to have be getting some money up front to go in front and speak.
Right.
For them.
Paid individuals,
yes.
that are getting paid to put some windmills on their land or whatever, and they so desperately want it. Then you have a bunch of ranchers against this that no way want this scourge on their lands or to be a part of it, and ranchers that are losing their leases. I mean, you've got the one, Murph, that we had on our radio show here a couple weeks ago, and now Andy Biggs has jumped in, and they've met with Murph, this third-generation rancher that's losing his, because the state lands, they're saying basically, Katie Hobbs and the state lands lady is basically saying to these state lands people, hey, you play ball and you let the wind turbines and, let them dig these giant tumors into our state lands left for time and eternity to ruin them, or you lose your lease. Okay, and it's just really sad. And it's even worse. It's a gigantic solar field, and he can't continue to graze on solar fields. They fence them all off.
Yeah, and with the Arizona State Land Trust Fund, in their own rules and regulations on who they can lease land to, I mean, it's very clear that this is something that they shouldn't be leasing to put on their property. It's a destruction of the property. Their own rules say you can't do this, but yet they're just going, they don't care.
They don't care. It's all about money, and they're kind of like, sue us, whatever. And here's the thing that makes me sad. They are doing this, and they target the poorest counties. Apache is the third poorest county in the United States, folks. And so some of the ranchers that are for this out there, that are crying, we're starving, we need this, we can't make any money, we need to, use windmills all over our lands. They're in the same boat. You guys were saying there was testimony to that the people that are living in Apache County are in the same boat.
Yes, yeah, and I sympathize with the ranchers on one hand. Ranching is it's a tough business, but still, that's a minority of the group in the county. And I hate to say it, but this is still America, and the majority of the people do have a right to voice their opinions on this. I don't understand why a couple of ranchers that just want to do it for the money have any rights, any more rights than what the majority of the people do.
Exactly. And here's the other takeaway. I can see the whole fight of I can do what I want on my land. Now, not on state land. I totally disagree. That is our state trust land. But on my land, I can do what I want. I've heard this argument before from a person in the Taylor area, okay? I'm going to do what I want on my land. Okay, but I don't have to be a good neighbor. I can put giant wind turbines, or I can put a whole solar business right up next to your house, and planning and zoning supporting me. I'm getting a special use permit. But so what I would ask these ranchers and some of these people, what about being a good neighbor? Because we have rights living up against a solar field. We should have, right? But basically, according to Navajo and Apache and the boards of supervisors, we have no rights. It's like, okay, we're going to tower over your house, so there should be setbacks. So if there's at least a 1 mile setback, okay, and 1 mile, your property values still plummet. In Texas and Oklahoma, within 5 miles, property values fell 50%. So I hope that people will stand up at these things and say, guys, speaking of the Board of Supervisors, planning and zoning, we are in an emergency situation. We are warning you now that you are taking away our rights. we're getting no representation from you, or no protections from you to protect our property. So the ranchers should see that side of it and say, gosh, maybe we need to be a good neighbor. Maybe I have to have a mile setback.
Well,
You know?
I agree 100%, but it just seems the nature of the beast with the decades and generations of the same ranch that some of them do get that attitude. You have no right to tell me what I can or can't do on my property, but at the same time, I guarantee you, if certain things went up around and somebody else's property they didn't like, they'd be the first ones to yell.
Yes, and so the big thing is warning our representatives that are voted in that this is an emergency situation. There is apparently an individual kind of a lawsuit that after the damages happen, that's the unfortunate part, after our property values, that we can sue them individually. And so that's the thing that has to be lined up, is that they're also saying they're so afraid of being sued by these companies that they lured in. But the thing is, they have to also be worried on the backside of being sued by all the people who are injured, who have injury because of this.
You're exactly right. And I brought that up several times on that, trying to tell them that the money you think you're going to get that ain't going to be enough money to take care of all the lawsuits that are going to come in against you from individual people because you've ruined their life, you've ruined their property values. And how can that be worth it if it's going to have the opposite effect of making money off this? You're going to lose money in the long run.
Right. They're not going to get money. And all their talk about helping schools, that didn't happen in Texas. And Texas and Oklahoma have tried to warn. They're like, guys, we spent more in lawsuits trying to get our property taxes from these companies, and they fold and they bankrupt, and then the windmills, the bonds fail, and everyone's left with nothing after a couple of years. It's so sad.
Yeah. And the school thing, like Apache County, overall, major majority of the people do not want these things, and some of the county keep preaching that, well, it's going to be good for the schools. The school gets a lot of money. They only get it for a little bit because then nobody's going to get it. But you got to remember that the majority of the people don't want them, which means the majority of the people have the majority of the kids in these schools that are supposed to be.
Good point, Mark. I didn't think about that. That's right.
You know, it's their kids in these schools, and they're still saying, no, I would rather have my kids grow up and see the land the way it is than have more money for my kids right now.
Don't have polluted, nasty land with, dead eagles laying around. Yeah, exactly. And it's just a scam. And, I've told a lot of people, 100 years from now when we're all long gone, that's what's going to happen. Somebody's going to be traveling around saying, what are those nasty, and there's no, you can't farm this because there's these big giant tumors every few, that are left in the ground, 4,000 tons each one. And they'll just say, remember that was the part of that big scam in, around 2026 that they scammed all these people, put them all in, they never got used, and they just ruined the land.
Yes.
That's the saddest part, is that the mini nuclear is right on the edge. We'll get one. It takes 5 acres, guys, and it adds 130 real jobs. If it was sitting in St. John's, a mini nuclear. If we can just get a mini nuclear slated out, which we know it's going to be less than 10 years. And these wind turbines stand for time and all eternity. So we're just cutting our nose off to spite our face, just so these companies can grab their $98 billion. That's what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, and the people, well, it'll bring jobs in. It's not going to bring that many jobs. And I will tell you, I've met people that have come in for it, like substations. They're all done by people out of Texas. Yes.
They have crews that come in, they camp out, and they do the substation, and they go back to Texas, okay? And they say that, there's per wind farm, there's 10 or 11 people. It's their people watching the turbines and doing all that stuff. It's not local jobs. Now, you might get a few little local construction things that are happening, and I know some construction contractors that won't touch them. They're so against them, they won't bid these.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is if they probably get a few more employees with solar, just because that's a menial task to clean the solar panels off now and then. The wind generators, they will, if they are running them, only trained people that they've had forever are going to be working on these things. They can't
Right.
They can't have other people on there.
Right. So it's very little. It's minuscule. And do you want to ruin all those lands and our food security, ruin all this ranch land? I just wonder what people are thinking they're going to eat down the road, with all of our lands being ruined. It's just sad. Well, we're going to take a short break. We've got Mark Osterman with Stop Lava Run, and we have a little bit of good news that there is a moratorium now for 120 days if the Board of Supervisors approves it. So We'll find out, and we'll keep you posted for sure on when that meeting's going to be, a call to the public for people to express their concerns. That's probably going to be a giant one. They're going to need to schedule that somewhere larger, maybe. All right, keep it right here, everyone. iTalk 106.7 FM, the voice of the mountain.